welcome back to art class. Today we are going to start a new project. We are going to be working on a warm, cool fall tree. It is fall right now and the leaves are falling, so we're going to do something that kind of mimics that. Today is just going to be a really kind of a drawing day. We're going to draw a few things out. There won't be any coloring today. You will need a few items. You're going to need white piece of paper, pencil. You're going to want one with an eraser or to have your own eraser. You're going to want a ruler with the inches because we're going to be using some measuring today. And you're going to want a lid or plate. It doesn't have to be a real paper plate. It could be an actual plate at home, but it needs to be fairly large. It needs to be able to fit on the paper like this, but also have a little bit of space on the sides. So it's got to be able to fit on the paper. We don't want to use a cup. Cup's too small, okay? So we want a lid or plate or anything that's a circle. It doesn't really have to be a lid or a plate. It just needs to be something that's a circle. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first part of this is actually pretty easy. What you're going to do is some simple measuring. You're going to just put your ruler near the top here. Okay, and make sure your zero is at the edge here, so they line up. Now, my zero is not actually the edge of my paper, it's actually the first mark here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot at each of the inches. So I'm going to have a dot at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down. And my paper is 10 inches, or excuse me, 11 inches long, but I don't need to mark the actual end of the paper. I can just stop at the 10 because I'm starting at 1. I'm not actually marking the 0. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 and 10. Okay, now that's my first set. Now close to the bottom, so I'm close to the bottom here. All I did is I slid my ruler down. Make sure your ruler, don't turn it around, that can cause problems. Okay. Just slide it down, and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna put a mark at 1, at 2, at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, I made sure my 0 was lined up at the edge there. Okay, so now you can see my marks. I'm going to make them a little bit darker so you can see them a little bit better. Okay, next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler and line the two dots up. Okay, so I kind of line it up here and then tilt my ruler so that they match. And then I'm going to draw a line. Now my line is actually going to go from edge to edge and through the dots. So I went from edge to edge, went right through my dots. Keep going. It is important that you actually line it up, so take your time with this. That. You can see I have it evenly spaced all the way across, and notice it does go all the way to the edge on the top and the bottom. Okay. Next, I need you to turn your paper this way. Okay, so it's going up and down. And you put your ruler near the top of the paper, and we're going to do the same thing, but there's a little bit of a problem. If you look at your ruler, this is going to only go to 8.5, so we're going to have a little bit off on the side, but that's okay, not a big deal. So I'm going to mark at every inch, so I'm going to put a dot at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm not going to worry about that 1/2 inch. I'm going to pretend like it's not even there. So like that. I'm going to slide my ruler down below the last line that I drew. Get it all lined up on the 0 again. And do the same thing. Okay. Next, I'm going to connect my dots, just like I did before. What it's going to do is it's going to make a row of squares. Okay, so this last row can get kind of confusing. And the reason why is because there are so many little dots kind of in the way, but I'm only concerned with the one at the top and the one at the bottom. If it happens to go through the other ones, that's awesome. But I'm not concerned if it does or not. My concern is that it makes sure it hits this dot and this dot, the top, very top and very bottom one. So it did happen to hit a couple of them, but that's okay. It doesn't matter if it did or not. Okay, so now when you look at it, you have basically a 1-inch grid. So you can see how that looks. Okay, this is going to take you a while because some of you are going to be a little wobbly with the ruler, and that's okay because you don't have as much experience as I do. So take your time. That's why you have the eraser. Draw your lines really light. I drew them kind of dark just so you could see them. And the last step I'm going to have you do is going to be to put this on. Another thing you might use is a bowl. A bowl is probably a good size too. And I'm going to try to center it as best I can, maybe about a finger space on each side and about a finger space from the top. And I'm just going to trace this. And that's where we need to leave it for today. Okay, so you have a nice big circle right in the middle, or just a little bit off the side. It's not directly in the middle. It's a little bit towards the top, and there's some space down here. And then this is what I'm going to have you leave it at. So I need a nice grid, and then you do the circle. And then I need you to take a snapshot of it like we have in the past, upload it so I can see that you're where you need to be. And I will see you next week.